Hope all finds you well this week. I'm Marty, and we appreciate you checking in with us today here at Warehouse and Operations as a Career. I'm really excited about an episode, or I guess it'll be several episodes actually, where we'll be speaking with a new associate in the freight handling world. We'll have a lot of fun with it, and we're going to try and follow him for a few months within his new job, from his application process on to getting hired, his first days on the job, and any training that he may go through. It should be really interesting to hear his thoughts about starting a new job, any challenges with the process, and checking in with him periodically to hear about any new hire frustrations and the positive feelings he may have about his new position. We're going to try and kick off the series as soon as we can get it put together and schedule a few phone calls. I'll keep you posted with our progress. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I hope you'll find it interesting and informational. So as for today, let's talk a little about the position of warehouse clerk. I was asked by a young gentleman if there were any positions in the warehouse other than unloading trucks or picking the product. He had just started with his first warehouse position. It sounds like maybe a utility type position where one day he may unload trucks, possibly do a bit of sanitation occasionally, and he's been sent to a repack area a few times as well. He was enjoying the work until he had been introduced to the electric pallet jack. It sounds to me like he was doing a good job in learning the task well, and either his supervisor wanted more for him, or possibly he had spoken with someone about making more money, or kind of spoke up asking what's next, or something like that. You know, none of us are born with a stamp on our birth certificate that states we can operate an electric pallet jack. I sometimes get frustrated when I hear a young supervisor or lead speaking with HR and asking for only a pit-trained or experienced electric pallet jack employee. The equipment and its use is not difficult to learn. 90% of its operation is staying aware of your surroundings, focus on what you're doing, operating it safely, and showing it some respect. I take every opportunity to point out to these managers that someone had given them a chance and taught them how to use the equipment, hence helping launch their careers. When I see a young man or woman that really wants to work, full of energy and motivated or excited about a job, I point out any additional training hours spent on them are cheaper and more beneficial than running through 2 or 3 less interested individuals. I don't feel that's so much of an opinion, really. In my experiences, I've found it to ring true time and time again. Anyway, this gentleman is quite uncomfortable even being around any type of powered equipment and states he doesn't believe being out on the warehouse floor is going to be for him. His question is, are there other positions available, not an office job really, but something where one doesn't have to be in the aisles and on the equipment? He's heard us mention the warehouse clerk and asked if we could speak to those duties and explain what a clerk is. That's kind of hard to define, but I think the term is used pretty broadly in our industry and really can be anything from an inbound or outbound scheduler to a position filing drivers' daily log sheets. Let's talk about a couple of different tasks real quick. The inbound window. This task is to identify a load, trailer, or vendor arriving to drop off a load or product, supplies, or equipment to our facility. Usually our task is to confirm a purchase order number that's associated with it and that the driver has a scheduled appointment and that in fact we are expecting the delivery. Now this person can be working from a guard shack or a check-in station located at the beginning of a staging driveway. Usually the building is placed there at our more secure facilities or large trailer yards where traffic has to be directed. For smaller centers or where security isn't a concern, the person or office or maybe window will usually be placed by the driver entrance door, or where drivers will enter our facility to check in and pick up any company documents or instructions on unloading his or her load. Many times, and depending on the type of product and the company's rules and procedure, the driver may be given instructions to back the trailer to a numbered dock door and that he or she will be notified once the unloading or loading process is complete. Some facilities are what's called driver unload docks, meaning the company does not provide anyone to unload your freight and the driver is responsible for the process. Many companies will offer an unloading service or lumper service, which is simply a third party that the driver can hire to unload his or her freight for them. Our window person or clerk would instruct the driver to the freight handlers or lumpers management to really form a contract with them. Should the driver wish to unload his own freight instead of using the unloading provider, we would give them their inbound or receiving paperwork, probably have them sign a statement sheet about our company's rules, processes, and procedures, equipment usage, things like that, and let them into the warehouse. This person may be responsible for keeping an entrance and exit log with arrival and departure times, any purchase order numbers that are being delivered, probably verify seal numbers and recording temperature settings, on refrigerated trailers. A seal is a lock or a tin or plastic strip that goes through the trailer door handles, preventing them from being opened or the load being tampered with in any way. As simple as they sound, recording that number properly is a very important requirement. In many industries, it's actually a regulation. As you can tell, this person will work closely with the inbound drivers and the company's receivers, possibly even with merchandisers or persons responsible for purchasing the goods. In my experiences, this person requires someone with a lot of patience and a bit of a multitasker. It's important that we can be firm with the procedures, but we have to be understanding too. Many times the driver is running ahead of schedule or behind schedule. Maybe some aspect of his appointment has changed since he or she picked the load up, and we'll need to listen to their frustrations while sticking to our company's process as well. I've seen people move from positions on the warehouse floor into the window position, but rarely have I seen it the other way around. I think one has to enjoy the responsibilities, the interacting with others, and all the reporting that may be required in order to be successful in this position. It's a tough job. I've actually filled in there before, and there's a lot more to it than it sounds. A couple of other clerk positions could be like a scheduler. If you like answering emails and speaking on the telephone, this may just be the job for you. Simply put, the scheduler receives emails and phone calls from trucking agents or vendors to schedule their freight appointments. There's not a lot of other duties usually associated with this position at your larger facilities due to the volume of calls and messages received pretty much hourly. In smaller organizations, I find that this task may be assigned to a warehouse lead person or supervisor. This person is responsible for scheduling and documenting all the appointments. I have no problem admitting that I can't do this task. It's busy and it's very, very detailed. Returns clerk, that's another good one. Here one can be working very closely with several different departments, from the delivery drivers to warehousemen to merchandisers, even customers. Again, we'll need to be a pretty detail-oriented person, as there's typically quite a bit of paperwork and documentation required. I think this is a great position to get started in warehousing with. There may or may not be equipment usage needed, and with us working so closely with so many different departments and people, we get some great exposure to other jobs and needs within our company. A really interesting position that may hold the clerk title also is mapping. I've heard it referred to as trailer or load mapping before. This position typically reports to the warehouse, but I've seen them fall under the transportation umbrella as well. Usually this is a function working closely with the routers due to how loads or routes are sometimes reorganized from the routing system's ideal of how things should be delivered, due to time windows or just a knowledge the router may have about the final delivery's needs or the route if we're dealing with a route delivery scenario. The router or routing system will of course route the stops, cases, and weight out the trailers, but the warehouse is selecting the cases and building the pallets, which will end up on the loading docks or staged in a holding area for the loaders to position in the trailer. Some facilities may utilize the selectors to run their pallets on into the trailer, but the process is the same regarding a mapping diagram or the positioning of the pallets on the trailer. The system should do a pretty good job of distributing the weight properly and cubing out the load or making sure everything will fit, but someone needs to direct the loaders as to which pallets or selection batches needs to go where. In a perfectly timed world, every selector would finish his or her batch or pull at the exact time it would be loaded onto the route, but there's about 100 reasons that's not going to happen. So the load is mapped using a batch number or sequence number, which is just a sticker or tag the selector will place onto the pallet. Usually the last sticker of that selection batch that the loader will match to the positioning diagram from the mapper. Now, of course, this describes the process of a facility using a WMS or warehouse management system, but the process itself holds true in a non-directed warehouse as well. The pallets still need to be in the right place for the delivery driver to find their product for the next stop, or a dock driver to be properly weighted out, or the load to be properly distributed. Mapping is another great transition position that can offer us several other opportunities in both warehousing and transportation. There is, of course, several other clerk or clerk-type positions in the industry. Each company and facility has their own reporting and paperwork needs, and I think typically where there's a bit of paperwork required to perform a task, we could find a clerk position ready for us to fill. Every position in the warehouse is an important one. I assure you, we would not be getting paid money to perform it if it wasn't needed. As I've mentioned in other episodes, these are great transitions to enter into the world of operations. We've discussed several of the positions mentioned here today in past episodes, and I'd invite you to check them out at our website, warehouseandoperationsasacareer.com. And if you have any questions regarding any of our topics, please send an email to host@warehouseandoperationsasacareer.com. And we'd be happy to find you an answer. We love researching answers that we don't know. We here at WAOC really enjoy our listeners' comments and emails, and we thought it'd be fun to maybe give away a gift card and have you share a thought or two with us. As you know, we're pretty big on safety and safety practices around here. We'd like to do an upcoming episode on the different safety practices at different facilities and would like your participation. Everyone that sends us an email with safety in the subject line and shares some practices used at your facility or list and explain a few practices you'd like to see at your facility in the body of the email will be entered into a drawing for a $50 gift card, and your name and ideals could be brought up on an episode if you'd like. Please send your emails to us by Saturday, July 8th of 2017. And our drawing will be held on July 13th of 2017. We'll let everyone know when the episode will be released and who the winner was. Thanks for listening in with us today. I hope we're leaving you with a few new thoughts on positions within warehousing and transportation. Please remember, safety practices are there for a reason, and in every position we'll hold within operations. Please work safe and be safe out there this week.